All right, everybody. Welcome, everybody who's tuned in to our show tonight. We have a great show planned tonight. I know I say it every week, but I really I'm trying to each week I'll say it louder. We have a great show, and then next week I'll say greater, even louder to make it even better.
We have a show tonight.
It is. We have great shows every week. For those of you that have maybe never watched, which is probably not likely, but we have a great show every week. So shout out to people that are tuned in right now. We have, as you can see, we have a very prestigious guest tonight. Sacramento, somewhere. Sacramento County Supervisor Patrick Hume. So we're going to be chatting with him here in just a little bit about all things that have to do with Sacramento County, which includes GALT, of course. He is our representative at the Sacramento County Supervisory Board. I guess that's what you would say. And so we'll be talking about what do those people do? What exactly does a Sacramento County Supervisor do? What does he supervise? Do they call you Sup for short? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But we'll be talking about that, and we'll be talking about some issues that I think probably, will affect GALT or may affect GALT. So it'll be important. It'll be good discussion. So look forward to it. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it. You're a busy, busy, busy man. So we feel very blessed that you can join us on a Wednesday night. We're taking away from your favorite TV show, right? You probably don't get a lot of chance to watch TV, but what's a show that you enjoy watching?
I'm more on streaming platforms. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, His and Hers was the one we just finished up. I just started the most recent season, Night Agent.
Oh, that's a good one. I've seen that. Yeah,
we finished The Diplomat. That was a good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. What's the one? So The Diplomat's the one where it's like British, right?
Yeah, she's the ambassador.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I'm trying to remember which one that is.
Becomes the vice president.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I forget what I was watching lately. It was pretty good. Sometimes, do you ever watch something? I know this is off topic a little bit, but do you ever start watching something and you're flipping it? Well, it's number 2 it must be pretty good, right? And you get like 1 or 2 episodes in and you're just like, man, I'm just not feeling this. I'm just not. And then you just never watch another one. Yep. You do that?
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
Yep. I do that with books too. I'll start a book and then I'll just be like, that's going on the shelf.
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, people say, oh, you watch the first episode, you'll be hooked. I think you have to be like, for me, it's like, I think 2 episodes in, it has to really catch my interest. And if it doesn't, I'm just done. And it's hard for me to go back to it. Like I have all these unplayed things in my queue. Yeah. What about you, Dan?
Right now?
Yeah.
I like The Pit. The hospital show out of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You told me.
Noah Wiley from ER.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Speaking of medical shows, this is big news. I can't believe the actor that died, that was on the ER.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he had ALS, right? So, I mean, this wasn't like a sudden thing. He'd been battling it, but I mean, it's crazy.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy. Oh, I'm sorry. Grey's Anatomy. That's right. Did I say ER?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you said Noah Wiley, so I was like ER.
He was Dr. Dreamy.
Yeah. So doesn't it make you feel old when you see someone who you're like, that guy was like handsome and he was like this heartthrob, blah, blah. And now he's like, and then you see him like in his state when he had ALS and you're like, whoa, like it just really, because we talked about this every show, I feel like, but it's like, when you think of an actor, they always frozen in time in a certain role. Like, oh, that guy's, like when I think of Val Kilmer, when somebody says Val Kilmer, automatically I think of Iceman. So in my mind, Val Kilmer is like, 30 years old in my mind forever.
Yeah.
Like this, guy playing volleyball on the beach,
Right.
So it's just weird when you see people pass away and then you see them and you're like, whoa.
If you really want to feel old, last night I watched the 1989 Royal Rumble on YouTube.
What's the Royal Rumble?
It was a wrestling match where the wrestlers would you had to get thrown over the top rope and hit the floor and stuff. Anyways, it was 30 wrestlers and they come out at 2-minute intervals. But I started, as these wrestlers are coming out, I start Googling them. And some of them are still alive and they'll pull up a picture of them, right? And it's like, oh my God, he didn't age very well, And I'm like, that looks nothing like that.
That's Dan's little wrestler right there.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's Stretch Armstrong.
That was a gift. So Stretch Armstrong was one of his favorite toys as a kid. So Caitlin gave him that as a gift.
Nice.
So he just chills right there
on every show.
Chills on the bike stand. So anyways, before we get out any further, I want to cover our legal statement. I want to remind everybody that the Great American Little Town podcast is an independent podcast from the city of Galt. Nothing we talk about here is to be considered an official statement of the city of Galt. This is not I am not a spokesperson for the city, even though I have a position in the city and Dan does as well. And even though there's 3 basically city people sitting here, our discussions are our own views. They are just for strictly entertainment and information. But again, we are not speaking on anybody. We're not speaking on behalf of anybody else except ourselves. So hopefully you all understand that and watch our show. So, because we don't want to be like, oh, I heard Sean Farmer's on that show, blah, 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 and it didn't happen, and I'm mad. That can still happen, but yeah.
Occupational hazard.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so in other news, Dan, the officer that died today, did you hear that? You heard about that, right?
Yesterday, yeah.
So I didn't realize he was a Galt resident until this morning when somebody informed me of that. And so then I'm kind of looking at all the pages and stuff today. And then I talked to my neighbor, I guess was pretty good friends with him. Shout out to Dylan if he's watching. But he, was explaining. So, I guess he went to Galt Bible Church for a while. I'm not sure if he's still a patron there or a different church, but, so a lot of Galt, I know a lot of folks that go to Galt Bible. So, so I don't know that I ever met him personally. I'm not sure. He looks familiar to me like I have, but I'm not sure.
40 years old.
40 years old, young children, right? And just, it's just, that's like the third person this week.
I've got a theory on that's what's involved with a lot of these young deaths, but I don't want to go into it.
You don't want to go on the air? Okay.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. It's just really sad.
I think you're starting to see a lot, 50 and 40 and 48, and you're starting to see a lot of that right now.
It scares me. It scares me.
I think there's something that's I think there's something that may tie all of them together. If you actually go back.
Well, you got me really interesting now.
Yeah.
That's going to be on the next episode, so make sure you tune in. Just joking. Hey, that's a good hook there, Dan. You got people guessing now.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, it's 40 years old. Let me ask you this, Pat. Maybe you know this because somebody asked me this today, and I was not sure. And maybe it varies by department. And I'm not asking this because you're in law enforcement. I feel like you know enough about law enforcement because you know your political dealings and whatnot. When an officer like that passes away, and they're still currently serving or they're on duty or whatever, well, I mean, is there some sort of death benefit to the family, right? I mean, his kids and his family are not just like, sorry, paycheck's done. Like, you're not gonna, right? There's something that they get.
Typically.
Okay.
And in a situation like that, where it's a heart issue or something that can be related back to stress.
Yeah.
A lot of times there is a disability that goes along with that. And so they might actually get benefits.
Got you. Okay.
And he was at work. I think was what I read.
I mean, I don't know if that's been officially put out.
If he was at going to or coming from work,
I believe I believe he was at work.
Then they should consider it an in line of duty death. But you don't have to die from.
I mean, I don't know if he was. I don't know if he was on duty. I heard he was maybe just getting off shift. Maybe I heard he was maybe in the gym and he was getting ready to leave. Or I don't really know the exact story. And I don't want to say. I don't want to say because I don't really know. But I just know that they tried to resuscitate him and then they transported him and he didn't make it. But he was at the station, I believe.
Most counties, and I don't know if that county does, but I know like when I was working for YOLO, the county actually provides life insurance also for all of their employees while you're employed there. It's like 25,000 is what ours was or something. You can add to it if you wanted, but I know that there was a life insurance that they did provide for all the employees through the county. So there's in San Joaquin County, I'm not sure what their
I mean,
makeup is.
What a tragedy, though. I mean, seriously. So in other news, and I was telling Pat before the show, I don't want to get into the nuances and break it down. But the State of the Union last night, the president. I only touched on that just to say that it was last night, and I know there's all kinds of people mad about this and that and the other thing and whatever. But that was pretty cool. That 100-year-old guy, that 100-year-old pilot.
I teared up.
The 100-year-old pilot got that Medal of Honor. Because and then the other guy too. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, as you would know, Pat, like a lot of people don't get the Medal of Honor when they're still alive. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of it's posthumously or however you say that. But this guy, he was in a dogfight in Korea, shot down like 4 planes. His plane was hit many times, whatever. I mean, this is like this guy's he's like a real Top Gun Maverick kind of guy, right? So
he got the longest standing ovation I think I've ever heard in my life. Like they just kept going and going. And
that's
going
really cool. Yeah. I can't believe that thing was 2 hours long. I was busy last night. I didn't see it, but 2 hours. Wow.
Well, there was one part that I laughed pretty hard, but
but 2 I could see when they did all the medal, they were honoring people and stuff like that. So I can get how it would be 2 hours.
So they brought the hockey team in. That was pretty cool.
Oh, that's what I was going to mention. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Women's won and men's.
Yeah.
First time they both won golds.
Yep.
And of course, the men's, they haven't won since the big famous Miracle on Ice in 1980. That's the first time.
And their brother on the men's team, sister on the women's team, and their mom was on the U.S. team back in.
Are you serious?
Yeah, true story. The Hughes.
Oh
Hughes
my
family.
gosh, really?
Yeah.
Well, and I didn't hear the whole story behind it because I just saw bits and pieces. But the one guy that ended up making the goal at the end, I know there was, people say, oh, it wasn't his, it was the pass to him that was the whatever. Not trying to make him the hero, but the one guy got his tooth knocked out or something. What was that about?
Like 4 or 5 teeth.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. He lost like 4 or 5 teeth.
That is hilarious. Like, I mean, and then there's this picture going around the internet that shows like, it's all picture of the year and it shows him biting the gold medal. And he's got like tooth missing.
Yeah.
That'll be the cover on Time magazine or something like that. Yeah. Anyways, so American, I'm not watching the Olympics.
Well, you don't have to feel guilty anymore. It's over now. They had the closing ceremony.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, I watched
So I'm off
more
the
of
hook?
it. The reason this series or whatever you want to call it, this Olympics, I watched more than I have. I even watched curling. You ever watch curling? If you get into it, once you figure what they're doing with those brooms and how they're moving that rock.
Big curling controversy though. There was cheating accusations in curling.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were pushing with the finger after they let it go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, mostly it's kind of a boring thing to watch. So they're trying to, we need some drama. We need to generate some drama. There needs to be some scandal involved so this thing can generate some more viewers.
Drama sells. Yeah.
But did you know, I read this during the Olympics. Did you know that almost all the curling stones come from one small island in Scotland?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's like got some rare type of granite or something, and it's just so bizarre. I don't know. Yeah. A girl from Oakland won gold. Really? No kidding. Oh. Been watching figure skating. Kellen says she's been watching figure skating, and a girl from Oakland won.
There was a guy from Norway who won 6 gold medals.
Yeah.
Like a long skier or some kind of won 6 gold, like he set a record. He won 6 gold medals.
Yeah, cross country skier Michael Phelps is the only guy who's won more in a single Olympics.
I feel like that the swimmers have like an unfair advantage because they have like so many different events that they can win medals in. That's why you can get like, well, I won 10 medals in one event. Well, it's like you're entered in 15 events. I mean, whereas a guy who's just like,
I think this guy, everything he entered, I think he won a gold. I think it was 6 for 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So anyways, what else we need to cover before we get to Pat? I wanted to mention, I wanted to give everybody an update on, about a month ago now, we had Allison, Connor Lopez's mother.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, Allison, if I said you, Allison, I just know as Connor's mom.
Yeah.
Connor's mom. That's the important part. And so I was talking to her today, and they had a court date today. And so there was an update. So they went to court, Sacramento, and it was covered on Channel 3. So there's a news story. I did post it on my social media, my personal social media. So the lady who was convicted, of hitting her son didn't show up. Because remember, we talked about that, how she's not required to show up, which is a super slap in the face. But they set a new court date. They asked for a continuance, I guess, or something. And they got a new court date of April 17th. The judge says, well, I can't force her, the driver. I can't force her to come.
The law doesn't require
but we're stressing that it would be important if she did come. We can just simply say, and the attorney says he'll pass that along to her. But she ain't gonna, so you probably know, you know all the nuances of the case where she got convicted of misdemeanor manslaughter. And basically if she just goes through this little diversion program, it'll basically just be struck from her record like it never happened and all that stuff. And I mean, I get that it wasn't like first degree murder, like she intended, to run him over. It wasn't like she was on her 4th DUI and all that kinds of stuff. But I can totally understand, and we had her mom, I can see that it just feels like there's no accountability there at all. And I mean, and you're like, she doesn't even have to show up to court. Like it's just it. And I think the biggest slap in the face to Connor's family is that they're just saying, if this person goes through this program, they're just going to take it off her record. It's almost like erasing the incident from existence. Right. And that to me is the piece that's just most like a dagger, right?
It's not almost like it is.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, so we have a district attorney Ho on next week.
Oh, good.
As our guest.
Good.
Well, that'll definitely be something, not because he's responsible, but we're going to be talking about a lot of things that have to do with the law and instances like that. And these are some subjects we'll be talking about with him. So be sure to watch next week. We have Sacramento County Supervisor, or Sacramento County District Attorney Tin Ho. He's a really good guy. He's actually quite the crusader, I would say, for some changes in the law. And he's got a mountain ahead of him. I can tell you that. So we'll be talking about that kind of stuff. I mean, we're going to also bring up to him. You saw that thing where they released that guy, the child molester guy, because he's elderly early release. Because he's elderly 64. I'm like, I mean, are you serious? Like, right? What is that?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy got like 3 or 4 consecutive life sentences. How do you even get, when you have 3 or 4, there's no getting out. Like, what is that? And if you're going to say, oh, somebody's so old, they're not a danger to society, I think the age should be like 85 or 90 or something ridiculous like that. Not 50. I think it's 50.
50. Anybody over 50 that's served, they have to have served so many years.
20 years.
Yeah. Then they can apply for it. That's absolutely insane.
Let's use bedridden as the standard.
Yeah, right.
Bedridden.
Yeah, they can't get out of bed. All right.
Fine, yeah, like you're or they're dying of cancer and they're bedridden, and maybe they want to just, like I would see. Okay, let me give you I'm very conservative when it comes to law stuff. Like me, I can go on and on about the DUI system and how it's just totally broken and all that. But I think shout out to Greg. Thanks for tuning in. I believe that the 100-year-old guy is from down by San Diego. Oh, the pilot. Really? Yeah, that's right. It was San Diego. Yeah. Thanks for putting that up. We appreciate that, Greg. I think where I would support something like, let's say a guy's got like, whatever he did, he's got 4 life sentences. He's never getting out, blah, blah, blah. Even if he's on death row, whatever, let's say the guy's got cancer or he's about to die, whatever. And maybe, or maybe his mother's dying and they want to they want to do a special thing where he can at least see his mother like one last time or something, like some situation like that. I would say maybe, but even then it's very like, to me, I mean, you do something like that, so that's that heinous. You're lucky you're not just, because back in the old days, you're done,
The state legislature and the government of California have taken the side of criminals in the last several years, and the laws have gotten weaker and crime has gotten, do you ever think we'll get to a point in our society in the future, a point where we just basically just say it's just inhumane to put people in cages and cells, and that jail won't be jail. We won't have a jail as we see. Jails won't exist like they exist today. There's talk about closing another prison. They've already closed several. There's talk about closing another prison.
Yeah.
Because because to them, it's all about saving money.
All right. Well, we're going to get off track here because we want to get to Pat. We're going to have some good discussions with him. We're going to share some community events real quick. So get that out of the way, and then we'll dive into
But hopefully they don't try to put that guy in our area again like they've tried before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Kalen's going to queue up some posters of some community events.
We'll have to call our supervisor and have him.
I came out last time.
We appreciate that. Yeah, that was an all hands on deck kind of thing.
Yeah.
So here's our CERT program. It's an Elk Grove Galt CERT program. If you don't know what that is, it's the citizens. I messed this up last time.
Community.
It's the community. Sorry.
Emergency
response team. I went through this. I should know, right? But anyways, if you're interested in becoming a trained, not kind of a first responder sort of. I mean, you're basically, if there's a natural disaster or some kind of thing that happens in the community, they call these people up. It's really cool. They teach you some really important things, CPR. They teach you some basic first aid stuff, some basic, what do you do in this scenario type things. And it's a cool thing. The QRs are there. You want to scan it and check it out. I believe it's free, if I remember. And they provide you with some gear and stuff when you leave the class. It's pretty cool. So check it out. It's coming up March 5th to April 11th. That's the window of the classes. So sign up before March 5th. That's just next week. Yeah.
And these programs are important because you never know when a disaster and emergency is going to happen, and you're going to be called upon to help your community. And that's what these people end up doing. So
yeah,
this is an important deal.
Be prepared. All right. Our next event that we're going to share is, of course, the Galt Saturday Market season starting up. It's going to be March 7th. First one. Kicking off a new market season. This will be year number 3 that we have done the new Saturday market in Galt, and it'll be run through November. Hopefully the weather will be good for March 7th, but got a bunch of fun stuff planned. It's going to be very exciting. So get out there if the weather's nice and check out the Galt market on Saturday, March 7th. And we have the Empty Bowl fundraiser. This is for the Sunshine Food Pantry. Dan has been
also March 7th.
Also March 7th. This is in the evening, and it's at the Civic Center. Which
$20 a person. You can't beat the price. Go have soup and salad and bread. $20, and it all goes to the Sunshine Food Pantry, which meets the needs of over 4,000 community members.
Yeah, they feed 4,000 people a month in Galt. They're a huge resort. All volunteers. These guys. Guys and gals commit so much of their time. We had Faye Gaines, who runs the pantry. We had her on our show a few episodes ago. If you want to go check out one of our past episodes, go to our YouTube channel and look, and you'll see the one we had Faye on here. And she talks all about the food pantry, how many people they feed, all the nuances of that. And it is a great, it's a great thing they're doing over there. So this supports
but they need donations. And this is part of this is their one big fundraiser they do a year. So the more people we can get to attend, the better that they're going to be able to help people.
Yep. So check it out. Our next event is going to be, this is American-made softball. So local softball team here in town. This is their fundraiser. It's a bingo night, March 14th. It's at Champaign Ranch. If you don't know, that's out straight out Borden Road. It's like a venue. They do weddings and all kinds of cool stuff out there. It's a beautiful
Borden out the Mesa. Right
there. It's a beautiful place. Beautiful place. Starts at 4:00. We'll post all these posters on our social media so you can learn more about them. So,
and they're going to have Reyes tacos, street tacos there for food. And they're good.
Yeah, that's really street tacos different than regular tacos.
Yeah, but those Reyes ones are good.
I like it's funny how everything's like a street taco now. That's like the cool thing. Oh, street tacos
smaller.
Somebody asked me once, are street tacos, are they tougher than regular tacos? Because they're from the street.
From the street.
Yeah, from the street. All right. So this is a cool event right here. So we mentioned this last show, but I didn't really know much about it, so I had to find out. So somebody from Galt Bible came in and said, hey, we want to put this flyer up in your shop. I said, hey, tell me more about this because we want to advertise. They're having like venison, like all kinds of, wild game type, food. And I mean, I wish I could have the list of the food because it was a huge list. And it's all free. There's no charge. It's not a fundraiser for anything. It's not like for the church. It's just a feed. They have people donating a bunch of food and people that like to cook, and they just want people to come out and they want to this church just wants to give to the community.
And that's on a Saturday night also.
Yeah. It's March 14th, 5 to 7.
Register online to reserve your seat.
I mean, it's a free meal of great food. I mean, so yeah, check it out. And we're going to share this on our thing as well. So thank you to Galt Bible Church for doing that. What a great group of people. This is why it's a great American little town, I'm telling you. Yeah. No offense to where you live. I know you live in Elk Grove, but yes, he is from Elk Grove. Please don't tune us off. Don't turn the TV off.
I worked in golf for over 20 years.
Look, I know he's from Elk Grove, but you can trust me. I vouch for him. He's a good guy. All right. You don't got no Grove.
Got to remember which side of the river I'm on. Apparently.
All right. So I think this is the last one. We have a spaghetti dinner. This is a veterans. Thing is for the American Legion Post 22 in Lodi, but this event is in Galt at the Grange Hall on 5th Street. So 347 5th Street. It's Saturday, March 21st, 6 p.m. And it's to help the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 22. And this is being put on by the Brossman family and some other members that help Ann Scholl, and there's some other people mentioned out here that do this. So if you want to come support vets, this is the way to do it. Come get some pasta. 2 people. I mean, $25. You and your special someone for $50. I mean,
so that's the third Saturday. I've got every Saturday in March filled out with a feed or a spaghetti dinner.
But as you know, Dan, people are saying there's nothing going on in town. There's nothing. We don't do nothing goes on. It's like we literally sometimes you can't even go to everything because stuff's double booked.
Right.
Like all the time. Yeah.
That's great.
Anything else? Is that the last one? All right. So that's it for that stuff. So check out those events, and we will post all those flyers on our social media just to remind you guys so you can check them out. And you can always email us if you have questions or messages on Instagram or whatever. So, Dan, you got some sports scores for us before we move on to Pat?
I do. Let's see. All right.
You got some cool stuff that's happened lately.
The city of Galt has 2 section championship teams right now that just occurred within the last few days.
For soccer, yeah.
Division 4 boys soccer for Liberty Ranch. They beat East Union High School 1-0. And what I understand from what I've heard, that was a very exciting game because there was a lot of, 1-0. A
lot of near misses.
And then for Division 5, the Galt Warriors beat Dixon for the section championship 2-1. So again, that was, pretty close game.
We have great soccer programs in Galt. Did you know that? I don't know if it was 2 years ago, and I apologize because his name escapes me, but we had a young man who's now moved on to, I think he plays in some league in Mexico or something now, some pro league or whatever. But he was the leading scorer in soccer in the entire United States from Galt High School in soccer. Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
It was a big to-do in the paper. It was about a year ago. Maybe it was about a year ago. Was it not that long ago? Yeah.
So the Liberty Ranch girls, they also played in the section championship for soccer, but they lost to West Campus 5-6.
Oh,
yeah.
Close one.
And then Liberty Ranch girls basketball, they played last night.
Yep.
And the winner of last night's game was going to go to the section championship game at Colden 1.
Okay.
They played West Campus.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, the reigning section championship champions lost 53-63 to West Campus. So the girls' season is basketball has come to an end now.
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
man, bummer.
But if they'd have won that game, they would have been through.
They had a run though.
Second year of section championships. Yeah.
Yeah. But they did it last year, so I mean,
still pretty impressive.
They know what
pretty
it's like to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So congrats to all those. Congrats to all the players from Liberty. Yep. Congrats to all the people. Yeah, we got to throw some applause.
They're all kids of our community, and that's
yes,
where everybody
sir. Regardless of the
teams.
school, I know there's a lot of sometimes there's like, Liberty this gets more of that or Galt, whatever. But these are all our kids are all our neighbors and our youth of Galt, and they're making us proud for sure. I mean, they're kicking some butt.
They're doing good.
Yeah. So without further ado, I want to move on to our special guest tonight. Again, Sacramento County Supervisor Patrick Hume. So thank you again, Pat, for joining us. It's always great to have, prominent figures from the area on our show. It makes it, I know you keep looking around. I know.
Local leaders. He's a local
leader. Okay. Local leaders and people that like our podcast, our mission statement says we feature local leaders and personalities that shape our community and our whatever. So I forget exactly what it says, but something like that. So Pat,
you wrote it.
So you are in your first term as county supervisor. But before you did that, tell us about where you started out. Was the first thing you was the planning commission in Elk Grove, right?
Yep.
So what year were you on the planning commission in Elk Grove?
From incorporation in 2000 until I ran for council in 2006.
So I didn't even know that I didn't even know that Elk Grove was only incorporated in 2000 until I read that the other day. I was like, wait, what? That's crazy.
Yeah. So
they were like massive size before they even incorporated.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So you basically so do you recall about what the population in 2000 was when they incorporated?
At time of incorporation?
Yeah.
I think it was about 80,000.
Okay. So you have a town of 80,000 people that's basically still has the police force is still Sac County sheriffs at that point because you're not incorporated, you don't have your own police department at that point or whatever.
Correct.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. And then of course I keep saying Galt. Elk Grove has had 3 different decades. We went on a rabbit hole in the last show and talked about Elk Grove growth. 3 different decades where you guys grew over 100%. But the biggest was 243%, I think it was, between 2000 and 2010. That was the biggest decade for growth. So you saw all that happen.
Yeah, right? And I'll just say there was a lot of growth that happened, new growth. But when people see the spike, some of that was because we annexed Laguna West. And so overnight, 13,000 people were added.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay. That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
So then you were on planning commission, then you ran for Elk Grove City Council in 2006.
2006.
And I did not know this until I looked. Hopefully the stat is right, but you did 16 years.
Was it 16 years?
It says that
4 times 4 is 16.
Yeah, 16 years on a city council. God bless your heart. I am about ready to wrap up 8, and I'm just like, I am done. Somebody said you could do. You're only halfway there. I'd be like, no, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, man, that's brutal.
Yeah,
16 years. Wow, man, you are a absolute public servant. You are a humble man. I'm telling you, public servant. So serving all those years, you're like, all right, okay, look, great. Like 16 years of city council. I think I need to get a better gig. I need to get a better gig that at least pays a little bit better, so I can all this hard work that you do, you can at least get compensated for it. Right?
Actually, funny enough, believe it or not, I had announced I was in my last term. I was riding off into the sunset, going to go do something else.
Yeah.
And this was before Don Natoli announced his retirement. And so I was out of politics. I was going to be done. I wasn't trading up until I saw.
Yeah, I was just making that up. I was just joking with you. Yeah. But I mean, but I only say that because I mean, there is this thing where, you know, people think that like council members and stuff like that, you just make all this windfall of money. And for the most part, you know, you're doing a huge job. It's almost like a full-time job and you're not, you know, like in Galt, you know, I make $260. Yes, that's right. I'm going to say it again. I make $260. I literally have to pull a couple 20s out of my pocket to put with it to pay my city bill. So there's that.
Planning commissioners only make $25.
So. Yeah, he makes $25.
Yeah.
He controls, well, not you.
And that's before taxes.
Yeah, you and your 4 constituents on the planning commission basically make most of the decisions with the planning, the growth of Galt and what comes with whatever. I mean, you guys oversee that stuff, right? You don't always get to say yes or no. I understand that. We're not getting into that, and you get paid $25 for that.
Yep. But as a great Sean,
what a waste of money. We're overpaying you.
As a great Sean Farrell says, our city treasurer, you don't do it for the money.
No,
you don't do it for the money. You do it for your community.
No,
you do it to serve.
No, and that's true. And that's true. But you know what? Though, but to be at least compensated for like, I mean, you know, because here's the thing. You're not just doing a service. So, I don't mind volunteering at the church. I just like volunteering. But think of it this way. Let me put it in perspective. You're like a volunteer. That's making monumental decisions that people are always angry and mad at you about, and people will see you and go, "Oh, there's that guy that did this." So people are mad at you. Nobody goes to the church and gets mad at the volunteers at the church about what they're volunteering there. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this kind of stuff, people get mad at you and they say, "Oh, you're doing this, or you didn't do that, or I would have, you know, why'd you vote on that, or why'd you approve that?" And so it's different, right? And I think for that, I just think people should be fairly compensated. But anyways,
I was just talking about this with a school board member today.
Yeah.
That in addition to what you're just talking about, every time you're in the community, in your community where you serve, you're being scrutinized.
Right.
So you're always on, and you know, you're thinking about things that you're going to be voting on, or maybe a contentious issue that's come up, or something that somebody said. And so what lives rent free in your head, you're not getting compensated for those hours.
Because every decision you make, there's usually people on both sides of that issue. Absolutely. So you're always going to disappoint a group of people when you make those decisions. That's the problem.
Well, some decisions I think everybody's on board with. I think some decisions are easy.
Somebody that's going to critique you, though. There's always going to be somebody that's going to critique.
Well, there's a lot of people that would just critique just for the sake of critiquing because they just want. That's just they just live.
That's the life
they live. Their life is just they have nothing better to do but just do that. But I will say, I'm not scrutinized all the time. That's not true to say that you're constantly scrutinized in the community, but you are scrutinized a lot of times for things that you really didn't have any control over, or sometimes you're scrutinized for things you weren't even a part of. Like people are always upset about growth, you know, in Galt. Well, a lot of the projects that are happening now in Galt were approved before my time in council even started, even 7 years ago. So, you know, you get blamed for those things that you didn't have a hand in, but there's rewarding moments too. Like, I don't need to tell you that there's a lot of rewarding moments. And I think that people like yourself and myself, you know, we'll look back someday and go, and you like to think you made a difference, right? You feel like, you know what, I know that maybe, and I know that I would never lie and say that if there's not a decision that I don't regret any decisions. I mean, looking back in hindsight, you go, well, if I knew what I knew now, maybe I'd have done this. But I think I don't regret any decision that I made at the moment, because you made what you thought was the best decision at the time with the data and the information you were given at the time. And so, and no one can see the future, and you never know how these decisions are going to play out, and everybody's human. So you're just doing the best you can. But I do think that when you're done with politics, whenever that time comes for you and for me, that you'll look back and say, I think you'll remember the good stuff. You'll remember that time, you know, you were able to honor somebody with something, or, you know, for me, it's like when when they invite me to throw out the first pitch for Little League, you know, I have these little baseballs on my shelves at home that they gave me as gifts. You know, when the team from Guam came and they gave me a bunch of gifts, they found out I was the mayor, and they blessed me with all these gifts from Guam. Just super nice people. So it's those things that you'll remember. You won't remember the negative stuff, I don't think. I don't know.
I agree with that. And people ask me, they'll say, well, you having fun yet? And I tell them, I think if you're doing this job correctly, it wasn't really meant to be fun, because you're invested in the outcomes and you're trying to do the best work that you can. And I got a piece of advice very early on. I might have even still been on the planning commission, that when you have a contentious issue, something where there are two sides and the two sides are very divided, they said, well, if at the end of the day, everybody's a little bit mad at you, you've probably done a good job.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
that's how popular the position is.
I was on the school board when COVID hit.
Oh boy.
And
see, I would have not wanted that job.
No.
I took city. I was like, I used to tell him, I'll take city council all day long, but I would not want to be a school board member during COVID because you're talking about people's kids and the whole thing. And that was whoa.
But it's like you said, John, you know, you make the best decision based on the information you have at that time.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. That's what we did during COVID. I mean, that was, you know,
and look, and I think you can say this too, Pat. I don't make decisions, and I believe that you don't either, because I've watched, you know, you have seen your meetings and things like you don't make a decision because you think that that's what you want to do, or that you think that that's you. What I do is I think, what's the best thing for the community right now? What I think the people of the community have put you in a place so that you can act on their behalf. That's all you are. You are just an extension of the people of the community. That's all you are. Or you, in your case, you're an extension of the people of the county. So you have to think yourself, what would the people of the county want me to do? Now, the tricky part is, well, some people would want you to do this and some people would want you to do that. So that's where the struggle comes in. It's like, well, how do you can't please everyone. There's situations, you know, where you've had issues where there's going to be not everybody's going to be happy with whatever happens. But still, for the most part, for me, when I sit up there and I make a decision, I think to myself, what would the people of Galt want? What would the people of Galt want here? What would the majority of the people of Galt, if the people of Galt were completely, and sometimes you'll have 5 people to say you shouldn't do that, and we vote yes anyways. Mm-hmm. Okay. But in that situation, I think a lot of people don't know all the details about something, right? And then they find out later, they go, oh, I didn't know that. Well, that makes sense why you guys, denied that or did whatever. So I think to myself, if these people knew everything there was and all the information, what would they want me to do? And I try to do that, right? I don't really sit up there and go, well, this is what I think. I mean, I say I think this or I think that. I might use that phrase, but I'm not really doing something I want. I just trying to, it's a small town. You were in Elk Grove when it was 80,000, like a fraction of what it is now. You were a council member for 16 years. When you served on city council, you were trying to make decisions that were going to be the best for the city of Elk Grove. You wanted to leave the city better than when you came in. Yeah. Right?
Sure.
And now you're doing that at the county level.
Yep. And another piece of advice I got very early on was that those who oppose show up. Yeah. And so usually the people you're going to be hearing from are the ones that are taking the time to come out because they're mad, because they don't want to see it, because there's an issue that they have. The people who are happy, they're at home watching, Pitt on TV. Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. But with that said, I do think it's important to know that, like, when you do have those 2 people that show up and they're angry about something, I do always I respect people that actually show up to a meeting, because 90% of the time, as you know, in this day and age, want to just take to social media to complain. Yeah. Not many people want to show up and actually, if they're really passionate about something, now they can give their opinion on social media. I mean, many people give opinions wherever they want, but if they really want change or they really want something to happen with that certain instance, they need to show up and make a change where it's going to make a change. I can tell you, no matter what decisions we make, yes or no on whatever, when I have someone come speak a public comment and they tell me this is how I feel, I listen to that person. Absolutely. And there has been many, many times that just one public comment has maybe go, you know what? Maybe he makes a good point. Maybe we should reconsider how we do this. And there's been tweaks. I've actually made like an alternate motion to tweak something slightly based on something that somebody said at public comment that brought something to my attention. I was like, and so I appreciate those comments. So if someone thinks, oh, why to go to a meeting? They're not going to listen to us. That's not going to change anything. If I go to a meeting, what's it going to change? You're wrong.
Absolutely.
Especially in a small town.
Absolutely.
I think they're wrong.
And I've always had another rule that, one, I like to ask questions I already know the answer to, just because I want to get that information out.
100%. Right? 100%. 100%.
You're operating on a different chessboard sometimes than people may know.
No, yeah. I like to. You know what? That is great, and I actually do that too. Yep. Because also too, you know what that helps to do? Because if you ask these questions, and let's say you because I go to staff and I ask them several questions before a meeting, and they've already given me 5 answers. But what I'll do is I'll give staff a heads up. I say, just so you know, I'm going to ask you these 3 questions again, because I think it's important that the public knows about these right here. Right. Because the public because this is what the public sees. They'll go, what? you just voted to spend $50,000 on something. None of you even
no
asked
discussion.
There wasn't even a discussion. Nobody asked a single question. What the hell? What kind of job are you guys doing up there?
Yeah.
And they don't know that you've already found out all this stuff, that you've already been talking with staff all week and emailed them questions. Hey, can you clarify this, clarify that? I don't understand the staff report. What's this? What's that? But that's why it's important to ask those questions out loud. I look at those and goes, if I'm just Joe Schmo citizen sitting in the crowd and I know nothing about nothing, what would be the questions out of this particular item that they would most be? What would the questions be? What would I want to be asking?
Sure.
Why are we spending that money on this? Was there another alternative to that? Simple questions. And sometimes we'll ask those questions out loud so that the community can hear it. And then also too, so the community can see your train of thought and how you got to the answer to your vote.
Which is the other thing that I do, is make sure that you deliberate in a way that you show that you've considered the sides of the issue, that you've put thought into it, and you've arrived at a decision that you think is best. And then that way, even if we have to agree to disagree, they at least understand where you're coming from.
Well, and the other thing that's important for anybody watching too is that just because you've had those discussions with staff, your other council members or board members, you can't have discussions with them until you get into that public meeting. So, that's where it's also important to bring up those same questions that you brought up before, because maybe that's for them to hear those answers as well.
Good point.
When you were on the city council of Elk Grove, do you, was there a lot of, I mean, I'm sure there was some, but was there a lot of split votes? A lot? Do you have 7? Is there 7 council members or 5? There's 5. Okay, I can remember. I know So there's 5 council members. Do you remember during your 16 year? I know it's a long time to remember, but do you remember being a part of a lot of split votes on things, or do you think it was? Where I go to this question is, I think sometimes it's good when you have the council is of one mind and they all believe in the same goal. All 5 council members said, "This is the vision we have for Galt or Elk Grove. This is where we want to go. And we believe in this. We all 5 of us support this effort." Right. So that's good. But I also, on the other hand, don't think that it's always good that all 5 people are just yes, 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 or no, 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 no. I think it's good when you have split votes because it represents that you have the trains of thought and stuff on the council. Right.
Yeah. I would say my time on there was majority unanimous, or at least, close to unanimous, 4-1 with the occasional dissenter. Prior to me getting there, though, it was a 3-2 council. And for the early part of the city, it was 3-2 with an allegiance one way. And then one of those 3 switched over and she went to the other 2.
Oh.
And now it was 3-2 the other
way. And you know what?
Sheriff Cooper was on the original city council for Elk Grove, wasn't he?
With him, yeah.
Yep.
And you know what? And that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I think that, I don't have anything against a 3-2 split vote, but if it's a, sometimes that happens on a contentious subject, but it is kind of crazy to think that some big, huge decisions can be made on a 3-2 vote where you literally have just one person controls the whole of what happened there. I always like to think, hopefully, that in Galt, when huge decisions are made, right? Like, for example, I'm not we're going to talk about this, but like the decision for the Simmerhorn Ranch project, the Maverick project, we'll call it, last week, right? If something like that got approved or disapproved on like a 3-2 vote, that's not a good thing, in my opinion. Yeah, something like that, you have to have a real. I feel like, and here's where the job of the mayor comes in. Because the mayor runs the meeting, right? I think on something like that, it's very important that the mayor can say, "Okay, this is how you feel. This is how you feel. I can see there's some divisiveness. Where can we find common ground? Where can we find some common ground where we all can agree on something, get a motion across that at least 4 of us will support, or all 5 of us, instead of just letting the vote happen 3-2. I've been a part of that. I am very proud to say that the one that comes to mind for me was the Measure Q. When we passed the Measure Q, we were just trying to decide what to do with the money. I wanted the money to all go to Parks and Rec. Now the future councils can change that because it's a general tax measure. But we wanted to commit by resolution, symbolically, all this money is going to go, because we couldn't do we had to do a general tax measure because we couldn't do a special tax, right? Because we weren't going to meet, the threshold was too high. So when you do a general tax, it goes in the general fund money. And we wanted to make sure the voters understood that our commitment to that money going to Parks and Rec was going to happen. But when we got in that chamber, all the council, like this council member, was mad because he wanted it to be a special tax, and he was upset that we were not going to, he's like, "No, I'm only voting to put it on the ballot as a special tax. I am not going to, agree to a general tax. No. He's like, "It's a hard no for me." Over here, it's like, I want the money to go part here, part, and everybody was on a different page. And I can tell you, after like 2 or 3 hours of us deliberating, at the end, I was able to go, Pat, so what would you agree that he's saying? What part of that would you agree to? And then he would say, well, I would probably agree. Okay, good. Okay, so there we got come around. And I was able to like facilitate. And at the end of that meeting, it was a 5-0 vote about what we wanted to do.
Wow.
I'm super proud of that meeting. Unfortunately, it was never recorded because there was something wrong with the chambers, and it was the police station. We did it at the police station. So it was a non-broadcasted
Never
meeting.
happened.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know, right? No,
It's
no,
all-
never happened.
It doesn't exist.
He's making it up in his mind.
But I think it was, but it was a really proud moment because we all decided on something that was huge.
Yeah.
And we all came to common ground. It wasn't something we decided on a 3-2. And I think everybody was willing to not dig their heels in too hard. And
Sure.
But I think it's important for whether it's a city council or the board of soups or a school board or anything like that, that you have to have that superintendent or city manager or city or county administrator who understands the thinking of the board or the council at that time, and who brings things to them. They've done the work to bring it to them to try to get that 5-0 vote.
Yeah.
Your staff and those people, those are crucial people that are, but they have to understand too. If you have somebody that, if you've got a divided council or divided board or something, and you have a city administrator or county administrator or something who just brings stuff without caring about what's, we'll let you guys hash it out, and they haven't done the work, then that's, I think, where you get in those divisive meetings and those divisive votes.
I agree too. I think you're right. I think it's if you wouldn't mind cracking that open over there, just if you mind, Dan, I think it's important that that staff need to understand and get a feel for their board or their council or whatever it is. And I think a staff that can do a good job at not bringing things that are going to be very divisive and very whatever. I think our staff in Galt does a good job with that. They kind of know how the council, they're never going to bring something to council that they know is going to be just a negative 5-0, a 5-0 no, like a 5-0 anonymous no. If they feel like that's going to be the case, then they'll figure out what they need to tweak on it, or talk to the council members and figure out, and not to, talk to us and twist our arms saying, well, you need to vote this, not to try to, convince us, but make us better understand. And then, what don't you like about it, Mr. Farmer? Well, I don't think, and so even though all these council members aren't able to talk about it, together until we get in one room, I think our staff does a good job with bringing items that they feel that this council, they know the council enough. They know each of our personalities, and they know what our visions and our strategic and our goals are for the city, that they only bring us stuff that they feel is something that's going to be successful. They're not going to, and I think that's important, honestly. And I didn't really learn that till probably like 3 or 4 years in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ironic you're talking about Elk Grove Incorporating. One of the reasons that prompted that is because Don Natoli, my predecessor, and Toby Johnson, his predecessor, they would have an item that would concern the South County, and they would get out and voted 4-1 on an item in their district.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of representation is that?
Yep.
You got people that you have no accountability.
Yep.
So tell us, back and try, we got a little, we went down some rabbit holes and stuff, but so tell us, so what does a county supervisor do? What are you in charge of as a county supervisor? How many county supervisors are there on the board? Cause you each have different districts, right? Yeah. Give us kind of just a brief overview of what district, what areas you're in charge of, what your job is, layman's terms.
Sure. So county supervisor is kind of the most misunderstood or invisible layer of government for people. That was one of the most common questions I got asked when I was knocking on doors is, what does a county supervisor do? And I'll admit that now that I'm in the job, I didn't even have a full understanding of.
They're like, oh, county super, are you the guy that stands out there and supervises the guy with the flag? You're the flag guy,
exactly.
The county supervisor?
Yeah, you sign off on the time cards. So there are 5, and I represent the 5th district, and it goes from the western portion of Rancho Cordova down through Mather, through Wilton, through Herald, Elk Grove, Galt, and the entire delta down to the apex of the Antioch Bridge.
Land size is the biggest of the 5
650
districts, right?
square miles. It's an hour and 45 minutes from from the northern.
And you want to talk about different places to represent.
So you're representing Rancho
Cordova.
You're representing Ileton over here, and then Rancho Cordova over here. Like couldn't be like, might as well be the earth and the moon
in the middle.
And then Rosemont is my largest unincorporated population.
So Ileton's got a rough go of it right now.
Yeah, they're still around.
Yeah. But man, they They were, Sac County was their police force more or less, right? And then they were, in debt with Sac County sheriffs for a tune of whatever.
Still are.
And I mean, it's a struggle. But you know what? You know what they're an example of? I get that those river towns are special. They're special areas, right? They're the people, whatever. And I get they're very conscious of keeping their way of life, right?
Absolutely.
But the consequence of keeping that way of life exactly the way it is without generating some sort of new tourism there or not building more houses, because God forbid they don't want that stuff for sure, right? But what happens is you get in massive financial problems because there's no revenue coming in.
Yeah.
Right? There's just not.
That's really what happened to Ileton is they don't have the critical mass to be a fully functioning city. And so, it's hard to keep up on your RENA numbers, for example, with the state when you can't even figure out how to keep City Hall open more than one day a week.
Right.
But speaking of that, I'm testifying against the Delta Tunnel tomorrow, which is a way of kind of preserving the overall quality of the Delta. But back to your question. So county supervisors do the same thing that city councils do in Sacramento County, at least, because Sacramento County is unusual in that they decided to urbanize rather than let that just be the cities. So we do everything that a city does, law enforcement, building permits, code enforcement, planning and inspections, public works, right, paving. And then in addition to that, all 58 counties in the state are the social services arm of the state. So the state says we're going to run mental health programs, behavioral health programs, child protective services, adult protective services, homelessness, probation, human assistance, food stamps, all of that is run through the county. And that's all non-discretionary money. It's just passed through. Then in addition to that, you have other functions such as jails, airports, landfills.
Wow.
So it gets pretty broad and complex pretty quickly.
But it's so much different. It's really a lot different than a city council, because at the city council, sometimes you're dealing with decisions and making things that are very down in the weeds, right? That affect like maybe a handful of people or this and that. Whereas at the county supervisor level, you're making decisions that are just huge, like, 100,000 foot level decisions, right? You're not really making a lot of things that are down in the weeds, whatever. So you're just kind of making broader decisions that have a bigger, right?
Yep.
That makes explaining that correct?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I think it's a different animal. Like, really, was it a hard adjustment for you to go from that? Do you think?
It was. Everything was more complex, broader, wider, deeper. The impact and the scope of it was greater. So every step in my journey, it's interesting. So when I was on planning commission, that was my background. Like, that's what I did for a living.
Okay.
And so I understood land use really well, right? And that was my wheelhouse. Roll up my sleeves, get down, boom, I understand it. I was able to use what I learned on Thursday nights in my day job. Took what I learned in my day job and do it Thursday nights. Then I got up to city council, and now we throw in public works and police and personnel and, clerking and record keeping and different things. And so I had to expand my knowledge there. And then I got up to county supervisor. And what I tell people is it's like, imagine going from, pee-wee baseball to the majors, like one jump.
It's that big. Huh?
It's the same game, so the rules. Yeah. The arena.
Wow.
But
it's like that. Huh?
The level of play is so much different.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Pat. What do you think is go ahead, Dan?
Were you from Elk Grove?
Yeah, I grew up there since I was 5.
Okay.
My mom's family's been there since middle of World War II. But yeah.
So while you were on city council and on planning, you had the history of the town and to help in some of that, guiding some of those decisions as well.
Yeah.
Which I think is important as well. That's like myself. I've grown up here in Galt. Sean's been, so like we have the roots established to understand when we talk about something or we talk about a piece of land, we're like, I know that I knew that family, or I knew that, and I think that's important. I think that helps also.
Yep.
So our friend Ward Engineering, Matt Ward, he wants to tell you, thanks, Pat, for all the pizzas that were at the bingo event on Friday night. He believed that those were donated by yourself at the table.
Right on.
So yeah, I wasn't able to attend, but it was a great. I heard Dan went.
Yeah,
Dan went to the St. Martin Foundation.
Oh yeah.
And it was a great event. I actually, something came up and I couldn't make it. I had planned to go, but I didn't. And I usually go, but I didn't this year. But Dan was there, and all 4 city council members, except myself, were there, which I kind of felt bad. I was like, oh my God, I was the only one that wasn't there. But it made me feel really good, because back in the day, it was like me and maybe one other council member were the only ones that would go to events like that.
Yeah.
And now I see the new council, it's like they're all going to stuff. And I think they're all those types of council members. They feel it's their duty to go to stuff. And I like seeing that. It makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Since you've been on Board of Soups, you've been on it for 4 years, or this is the beginning of your 4th
I'm
year.
in my 4th year. Yeah.
And one thing that Don Natoli told me one time is how many miles he put on his car every year. And because you represent the largest land size district within the county, I imagine that's one thing that you've had to kind of adjust to, because again, being on city council, well, you were representing the city of Elk Grove, so maybe you're traveling.
Yeah, is that your Prius? Is that your Prius parked outside?
But
I got a hybrid.
But when you represent the county now at this level, like you said, you might have a meeting in Rosemont or someplace in the morning. Maybe you have an afternoon meeting in Ileton, and then you got an evening meeting back on the other side of Elk Grove or something. I mean, like you're probably putting a lot of miles on these days. And imagine spending time in your car.
Yeah, I've not actually clocked it, but I would say probably somewhere in the neighborhood about 20,000 a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just going to and from events.
What my car had on it when I got this job and what it has on it
So
now.
speaking of Rosemont, so we have somebody on the link on the chat here. Welcome, Nate to Potato, or I guess as I said. Anyways, they're asking, do county supervisors have any jurisdiction within cities? And for example, if Rosemont became a city, would you lose jurisdiction? So first of all, do you have jurisdiction within cities?
So the answer is yes and no.
Okay.
So there are still things that we provide within cities. And so again, all your adult protective services, the health department, probation, there's things that counties do within cities.
Okay.
But if Rosemont were to become a city, or more likely they would
they
would annex into.
So like that, for example, a health department that comes in and inspects restaurants and things like that.
Yep.
So the city issues business licenses direct to businesses, but they don't really oversee like county health. That's the county.
That's right.
Yeah. So and then if Rosemont became a city, would you lose jurisdiction? Doesn't really matter if you have an unincorporated area or a city like Galt. Same thing applies all over, right?
Well, so the biggest difference, like literally change of the landscape, is now I would no longer be responsible for the quality of roads there.
Oh,
like you guys pay for your own roads.
Okay.
And so cities have a pavement condition index. Most cities in the high 60s to low 70s. In the county, we have a pavement condition index in the low 40s. Because again, I have 650 square miles of roadway, and I get about $2.5 million a year.
So for that, to break that into layman's terms, what he's saying is there's a certain level of what the road index is, how well the roads are maintained, and because the county areas have so much volume of roads everywhere, they can't keep those roads to a level that you would see a city keep, because obviously the city has its own money, it takes care of its own roads, whereas in the county you have a certain fund, but it's having to be spread across hundreds and maybe hundreds of thousands of miles worth of road if you really all add it up. I mean, if you got a district of 650 square miles, how many linear feet or linear miles of road is that? I mean,
that's a good question.
That's right.
I have an answer for you.
Yeah.
But think about this: go from Freeport down to the Antioch Bridge. That's all. That's just one example.
Right.
Go from Twin Cities Road all the way out to the county.
So let me ask you this before I forget about it, because I feel like this is
from the river up. Yeah.
So some of the things that I get people asking me, but are not really something I can control, that I have to rely on someone like yourself, or that I used to call Don for and stuff, is when you have, and really it's such small, I would call it low hanging fruit, really. There's an epidemic, I think, generally speaking, in the county, where people like to dump things. They dump refrigerators and old appliances and stuff. It's really sad that people do that, but these are county things. But a lot of Galt citizens, and they're not citizens per se because they live in the city limits, but I call them Galt people. The one thing I always tell people, just because you don't live in the city limits of Galt doesn't mean you're not Galt people, because a lot of people decide to make their life outside of the city limits because they want property or whatever. Sure. They shouldn't forego their right as to say they're from Galt, just because they don't live in the city limit sign. I've always
the same zip code.
I always thought that was something I bothered. So when someone comes and speaks at a council meeting and they say, well, I don't live in the city limits, but I live outside the city limits, that person's comment to me is just as important, whatever. But going back to my question, people dump stuff, they trash, right? that's something I would be like, hey, Don, is there, I know there's 411 or whatever, 311. Okay. And they do a pretty good job for the most part. I'm not going to lie. That is a huge service that I think that does not go unrecognized, because we really do really appreciate that. Good. Because it keeps our community, our larger footprint, right, looking nice.
Yep.
But sometimes there's stuff that I just can't control within, and I have to, reach out to you. And there's been some things I've reached out to you on, as you know, and said, hey, what can you help with this? Or is this something you could look into for whatever? And sometimes there are little things, and I hate bugging, as city council members, I would hate to bug my whatever, because you're dealing with these bigger things, right? You're dealing with these monumental things. And here you got, Mayor Farmer calling with this thing. It's little, and it's a big deal to my people though. And I can't take care of it. I have to call you for it. And that's why I'm like, I know this is a petty little thing, but is this something you can, whatever? So I'm just telling you that because I do appreciate when you can take any time and take care of that little peddly thing that you may not think is, a big deal, but it's a big deal to Galt.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think, and this is just kind of a different question, but do you think that, you kind of had some big shoes to fill coming in after Don Natoli, who, was a Galt guy, but also Toby Johnson.
Yep.
Both of them served for together, I think maybe close to 40 years were our supervisors.
44 for Don.
Yeah. And so to come in and of course Don was Toby's administrative assistant, so to come in and fill those shoes, do you think that was kind of difficult at first, or do you think that it was a fairly easy transition to come in? And again, because a lot of people in Galt, could just call Don on the phone and say, hey, Don, this is so-and-so. And Don knows everybody. Yeah. I've never seen anybody that knew more people and can remember their names.
When you serve for 30 years though,
but he has a way of remembering people, and he talks to everybody like they're just their best friend and the closest friend. And
the man didn't age.
No, he didn't. Right. Same hairstyle.
You're like, is that something? Did he tell you that secret? What the secret is of that?
No, he didn't. That one. I think he cloned himself somewhere along the way. And that's how he got to so many events. But no, it set a bar for me to focus on, because the job was kind of overwhelming, right? That was drinking from a fire hose. But I knew that if at least I got out into these communities and was visible and made myself accessible, then I was kind of holding that tradition. Yeah. And that really was one of the things that prompted me to run for this position, going back to something you're talking about earlier, is that I knew Toby Johnson. I knew Don Natoli. Right. I knew the work that they put in. They wanted to represent the people.
Right.
And I didn't think the people that were lining up to take the position, they wanted the position, but they didn't want the job.
Well, and I think another thing that's important for people to understand is county supervisor is a nonpartisan position.
Correct.
Now, obviously you have, you have a political party, Don has a political party, whatever. Yeah. But it is a nonpartisan position.
Correct.
And so, and I think, I think that's one that I think you've done well with it. I know Don did very well with it. Was he didn't represent you because you were in his political party or not in his political party. Right. He represented you because you were a citizen of Sacramento County and he cared about you. And I think you do the same thing. Yeah. And I think you've done a great job in the last 4 years of following and continuing.
Yeah, because partisan, in a world where partisan politics are just worse than ever, let's be honest with you, right? It's just at the federal level, it's just where everybody's so divided, where you literally have, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever, I'm not going to get into that, but you literally have people that will literally just be against something because the other party's for it or something like that, right? And that's just not a good way to govern. And I know that everybody's trying to, but they make it, they justify it in their own minds because they feel like they're doing their constituents.
But I shouldn't know what you are. I shouldn't know what your party is. I should just know whether you're doing a good job to represent me and my neighbors and my friends and my family. That's what it should come down to. It shouldn't matter what.
And a lot of your decisions, Pat, as you know, for the viewers that are watching, a lot of your decisions are not really, they're not even really partisan decisions. Like people ask me when I was running, are you Republican? Are you Democrat? Are you independent? What are you? But it's like, here's the thing, you can ask me, well, how do you feel about abortion? Well, how do you feel about gun control? It's like, well, I could tell you how I feel about those things, but to be honest with you, those are things I'm never going to have a say on. Those are things that you're never going to, you're never going to be. And even at the county level, you're probably never going to be weighing in on some decision that has to do with gun control. That's going to have to do with the Second Amendment, say, for example, right?
No,
right. You're not picking a Supreme Court justice.
No.
The closest thing you would have to that would be maybe to allow like concealed carry permits in Sacramento County or something like that, right? That would be the remote. That would be, I'm trying to draw a connection to any of that that would be like, for
Yeah,
something
which
like
that's
that?
a decision of the sheriff. So I don't even.
Oh, see, there you go.
We
See?
get to determine the sheriff's budget, but we don't get to determine how it's spent.
No, maybe, maybe you would, maybe on like some divisive I'm trying to think of really divisive topics that you guys would weigh in on. So cannabis or stuff like that. Those would be things that you guys would probably have, or not really, or you think that mainly is left to cities?
Both.
So you guys and
it
cities?
affects unincorporated county,
Okay.
and then the city, obviously,
Okay.
if they adopted their
Okay.
own ordinance, would supersede whatever the county.
So
says.
what I'm getting at, and I'm not trying to get you into a pigeonhole you just, but I think what I am getting at is even though it's a nonpartisan seat, there is going to be some decisions, I think, that people could say would sway your mindset on how you would vote on that based on whether or not you're a very conservative gentleman or you're a very liberal conservative. I think you could, like social services, you guys oversee social services. So let's say if you were a very liberal minded person, you might feel very you might be very inclined to vote yes on allowing social services or such and such to be, across whatever, just full whatever. Whereas if you were a conservative person, you might say, well, I don't think that, we should provide, this kind of services to an individual that's, I don't know, you know where I'm going with this. So I think there is some instances where county supervisors, you kind of are making a decision based on whatever, but for the most part, you're really not, it's not a partisan position.
It's
right?
not, but I'll give you a real world example that touches on exactly what you're just talking about. So
please,
as we go into budget season here, we are examining like where our priorities are going to be. And the state has told counties that they are no longer going to fund. They had been funding it under the Rescue Act, and they're no longer going to fund care for indigent people, which is essentially folks who are 138% or less of federal poverty level. That is something that in the Health and Welfare Institutions Code, counties are mandated to do. The state had taken it over for us and they were doing it. So our program was basically unenrolled. Okay. The state said, we're no longer going to do it, but we're not going to give you the money to do it either. So now we have to stand our program back up for indigent folks, 138% of poverty level or below. In addition to that, there's a program called Healthy Partners that extends that same, this is healthcare for like really poor people so that they don't clog up the emergency rooms. Basically. Okay. We're going to extend that same program to undocumented individuals.
Okay.
Whether they're refugees or illegals or whatever. So, and here's how much that's going to put a hole in our budget.
Okay.
Operating from a nonpartisan position, I said, look, whatever program you want to fund or don't fund, I'm not going to fall on that sword. But as a fiscal conservative, show me what you're not funding in order to extend this to these other people. Because otherwise, if we didn't extend it for undocumented, we could raise the poverty level to 200% of federal poverty level, and we could enroll more people in the program, right? So everything is a choice. Everything is a priority. And wherever you put the money, that's showing your priority.
And those are the things where those are kind of decisions where it's not really a win-win all the way. It's like there's going to be some sort of compromise.
It's a zero-sum game at the end of the day. You only have
so what the one thing I have learned, and I feel like I see new council members coming in, and I know the green council members that come in, and I go, you'll learn this in a couple of years. You come in with like sort of an agenda. Like you come in, you're like, you got certain missions. You're like, I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to accomplish that. I'm going to do this. And they come in just like, wanted to just lay waste to like, they want to be a crusader. They want to go, they want to question every single tiny thing that staff says, no matter what, no matter how clear it is, they still want to question it. They want to over amplify and over demonstrate, like, that they're act, all that, right?
Right.
Grandstanding sometimes.
Fighting.
Yeah. But what I have found in 7 years is there's things that I'm very adamant about that I feel like, there's something that I am not going to compromise. Like this is what I believe in. This is what we're going to do. This is what's best for Galt. This is what the people need. But sometimes you don't get 100% victory. There has to be a little compromise where you're like, okay, I'll take 75% of what I was going to get. It's not exactly what I wanted, but it's mostly what I want, right? You have to learn compromise. If you don't, then you're never going to get anything accomplished. You can't just go in there stonewalling, because what you see is what happens is you see what's happening at the federal government, where everybody just dug their heels and dug their heads in like ostriches, right? and they're not getting anything accomplished because nobody wants to go across the aisle. Nobody wants to reach across the aisle. And you have to have some of that. I think Don was very good at it. And I think so far watching you, I think you've been good at it too. If you're not willing to do that, and you know who else is really good at that is Senator Nilo, who's on our show a couple weeks ago. You have to be able to be like, look, and he's at a higher level where partisans way more, right? Way harder. But he's been trying to do a good job where he's just trying to like, look, my good friend over here, he's a Democrat. I have another friend's Republican. And we're working with both of them to try to get this thing because we believe it's what's best for the people, and we're going to lay all that other stuff aside. And that's what I've learned. I've just learned that compromise is sometimes some compromise is still a victory.
So the problem is you become dismissible, right? If you just dig in and you're always the party of no, let's say, then pretty soon. Okay, I know where you are, and I don't need to court you.
Like your stereotype,
right?
You're
exactly.
Like,
So we'll just let the vote come down. But back to Toby Johnson, I have in my office a painting of a piece of pie and a painting of a piece of cake, because Toby and Sue, Toby would tell you he was the original pie guy, but Sue liked to eat cake, and so we would go and visit them. We'd bring him a slice of pie, and we'd bring her a piece of cake. And that reminds me that you don't always have to like the same things in order to get along and
that's right.
Another.
That's right.
And so that is compromise visually in my office.
You touched on something in a previous answer. You were talking about the Welfare and Institution Code. And I think that's another thing that people don't quite understand. There are so many laws written in the Penal Code, the Welfare Institution Code, all of the codes of California that require the county, like you mentioned, the county is required to do certain things.
Yeah.
Like, I came from a correctional background. I worked for Viola County. Most people don't know that the sheriff's department is required to maintain the jail and court security, but they are not required to maintain patrol. That is not, if you actually look at the penal code up and read it, it doesn't, but they do it as a service for the non-incorporated parts of the county, and obviously for the safety and security of the residents of the county. And But I think that's one thing that's important, is that a lot of the things that a lot of decisions you guys make, or a lot of things you guys have to focus on, are things that are required by the state, by the laws of the state of California. And so if there's something that the counties want to get changed, they really need to take it to the Assembly and the Senate and say, hey, people like Mr. Nilo, and say, hey, can you make some tweaks to the law?
Yeah.
In order to help you guys on some of that stuff as well. So,
absolutely.
I think that's where you guys have to have, like, I think you're in a position as a supervisor, you're kind of that middle guy right now. You got to have a good working relationship with the city councils, the city managers, the planning commissioners, those people. But then you also have to have that good working relationship with, the assembly members and the state senators and things like that.
That's right.
And I think so I think you're kind of, like they might say you're a sergeant or a lieutenant in the army. You're kind of right there in that middle. You're not that guy, but you're not that guy either. You're not the general, and you're not the foot soldier.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's still an important, crucial job. And a lot of times I think you guys, sometimes I think people don't pay attention to who their county supervisors are.
Most people wouldn't be able to name one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's the scary part about that. People don't even realize, but you guys are making huge decisions that affect
the budget,
the community, like Galt, at a higher level.
But the budget for Sac County is in the billions. The yearly annual budget is in the billions.
Wow. Yeah.
Multiple billions.
Right. And you mentioned restricted and non-restricted and things.
That's right.
And again, a lot of people they just see the money and go, well, this is what you got control over.
Right.
But that's not really the case either, because the restricted funds are things that have to be used for specific items at a specific amount.
That's
right.
That's
right. So I have a question about the partisan thing that would be an example. But before I do that, I want to go back and talk about, you were talking about how you grew up and whatever. We want to bring up your dad. So before we get too far, because it's important, and we're going to be doing some trivia at the end of the show. So we're going to be giving away a gift card to Velvet Grill for some food. So if you want to win a gift card, stick around and make sure you follow our conversation. So your father was in the Air Force,
correct?
Right.
Yep.
So tell us about your father. What rank was he? Where did he serve?
He was a colonel. He was career.
He was a colonel?
Yes, sir.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was a colonel. He was vice wing commander of the 1st Special Operations Wing in Hurlburt Field down in Florida. at the time of his passing. So I was born on George Air Force Base down in Adelanto, outside of Victorville. And then I lived in Salisbury, England till from 6 months old till 2 years old. And then
at an air base there?
He was stationed over there with the RAF.
At Alconbury?
No, it was, let's see, it wasn't High Wycombe. It was the one in Salisbury.
Oh, okay. Because there was a joint American RAF air base called Alconbury. It was called Alconbury.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
Yeah, and it's no longer there. It's closed now, but I have a vehicle that came from there.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it has the name of the airbase on the door.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and when you said that, I was like, oh, maybe it's Alconbury. That's because I don't remember where it was. But so your dad was a colonel.
Yep.
He was a pilot.
He was a fighter pilot in Vietnam, flew F-4s.
Flew F-4 Phantoms.
Yep, F-4 Phantom, 101 missions in North Vietnam. He got 4 distinguished flying crosses, which is a pretty significant.
And the
medal.
coolest thing about this story is his call sign was what?
Maverick. True story.
Cool.
I get 0 royalties from the movie.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. You know, I mean, he doesn't really look like Tom Cruise. Kind of looks a little, but he kind of looks like he kind of looks more like what was one of the other characters? But he wasn't one of the pilots. He was the
navigators.
Yeah, one of the
Goose?
navigators.
Goose?
No, not Goose. He looks like he's an actor. Oh gosh, like he was in Shawshank Redemption.
Tim Robbins?
Tim Robbins' character in Top Gun.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of looks a little more like that than yeah. But what a cool story. Like flies 101 missions in his F-4 Phantom over Vietnam.
Yeah. Call
sign Maverick. I mean, you just can't make that up. That's so cool. I mean, okay, this is a valid question for you. Do you think that how did they come up with the call sign Maverick? Do you think there's any possibility remotely that they were looking through old data of people's call signs from like previous wars and they saw Maverick and thought that was a cool one? I mean, that's a big coincidence right there.
It is a big coincidence. So the first question you have to ask is, was there only one Maverick call sign?
Probably not.
I don't know that.
Probably not. Maybe.
But then they probably came up with this is the coolest name we could name this.
But
guy.
I also think if you think about Tom Cruise's character, like he was kind of he was a maverick, right? He was always doing stuff, pushing the envelope, getting in trouble a little bit, whatever. So I think that his character and who he was probably had more to do with the name they gave him than using a name. But
Pat, did you have any siblings?
I do. I'm the youngest of 5.
Youngest 5.
Wow.
And let's continue with the story of your dad, though, because I don't think everybody knows.
Sure. So again, lived in England from 6 months to 2 years old. Then 2 years old, we moved to Florida, which is where he was vice wing commander of the 1st Special Operations Wing. And then he actually passed active duty 15 September 1977, Albuquerque, New Mexico, riding passenger in an EC-135.
So the plane went down and he was killed.
Yeah.
The crew as well, everybody?
Yeah, everybody went down. 12 enlisted, 3 officers.
In New Mexico, you said?
In New Mexico. Yeah,
Wow.
so he survived Vietnam and perished on American soil during peacetime. Yeah.
How long had he been in at that point? How many years he had served approximately, or
20
something, probably
26, I think.
Yeah, significant amount of time for. He was a career.
He was a career. Yeah, he was on track to be general. Yeah.
Wow.
So
wow.
I'm sorry, but I caught the date you said he died was what?
1977.
September
15th.
Oh, that's my dad's birthday.
Oh, is that right?
September 15th.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, 1942. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow,
my
that's
sister's
weird.
is the 16th.
Oh wow.
September 16th. Yeah, it was a freak accident. So in Kirtland Air Force Base, runway number 9, which is the south-facing runway, as the plane takes off, the pilot has orders to bank hard right in order to avoid the Sandia Mountains. Well, this plane, which an EC stands for electronic whatever, and it's basically, it was a flying spy plane that could be a communications base in the air, and it hadn't been flown in a year. Because
it's not one of the AWAC planes. With
it wasn't an AWAC.
Okay.
With the big funny disc on the top.
Okay.
But anyway, so this was its maiden voyage, and on takeoff, the number 4 engine seized up and sheared off the plane.
Oh, wow.
So now the plane was overpowered and pulling to the left. The pilot had orders to bank right, and it just went right into the mountain.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. And how old were you?
5.
Wow.
So Do you have a lot of memories of your father, or just pieces? Because 5 years old is pretty young.
Yeah, I was pretty young. I've got a lot of pieces. Some pieces, he used to let me sit on his lap and drive the car into the driveway. I remember that. He was pretty strict. I mean, you didn't get away with much, but
well, that's just the nature of a pilot. They're very, there's no room for error. You have to be very. I feel like to be a pilot, you have to be very like OCD about certain things. You have to be very, because that's your, it's a very strict mindset.
How old was your oldest sibling at the time? Do you know?
Let's see, he's 17 years older than I am, so he would have been 22.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
So many of your siblings knew your dad very well then.
Yeah. So they all came 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, 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 and then there was a 10-year gap.
Oh my gosh!
Surprise!
So they all remember your father very well then.
Yeah. They grew up with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then how did you end up in Elk Grove after that?
My mom's family had moved here from Oregon back in the middle of World War II, because my grandfather's siblings, his sisters, didn't think we were going to win the war.
Oh.
And so they had to sell the family ranch because they wanted to cash out. So he
God.
took 100 head of cattle and moved down to Elk Grove.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
And so that's where my mom's family was. And so we moved back to Elk Grove.
So did you grow up with cattle and stuff, or
For a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then ironically, my stepdad was a cattle rancher as well. So
Okay.
grew up around it.
Yeah. I used to live I grew up on a farm until I was 13 on Twin Cities, where Marengo Road is.
Okay.
All those homes out there now. But that was the farm I grew up on till we were 13. And then we'd sold it and then moved. But I come from a family of cattle ranchers as well here in Galton. So
Yeah.
they probably did business together at some time.
So to hit you with a couple more questions that people are asking here. Skydiver Rick, this is someone, he's actually one of my customers. He says rural roads out there are often not in good condition. Seems further you get from SAC, the worse they get. Occasional repaved, only some are just patchwork. And then he says we're going on. He's got a lot of questions here.
Well, let's talk about the roads for just a second.
Yeah.
Does the county have a plan to repave road, or is it just kind of like by what comes up year by year, or is there a long-term, hey, this year we're going to work on this section and next year this section? And
we're sticking our fingers in holes in the dikes.
Right.
The reality is the money we give away to the federal government and the state government does not come back at the same measure. And so the identified funding, when we're talking about discretionary and non-discretionary money, the county budget, the identified funding that comes back to us from gas tax and federal highway tax and those things that we should expect to cover our roads, the county gets $30 million. We estimate that to keep our roads in their current condition is about an $80 million a year game.
Just to keep them in the condition they're in now.
Yeah, just to keep them from getting worse.
So does that answer the question? He says, why can't our rural property tax dollars, so the property tax, keep the rural roads in decent shape? So what happens to the rural property tax dollars? Like, let's say somebody's got 10 acres and he lives out in the county and he pays property tax on that.
But the property tax isn't covering the roads.
Yeah, property tax, 1% goes back to local governments. Most of that goes to the state. And it's gas tax and it's registration
DMV
fees and these types of things.
Yeah,
DMV fees. And so
that's where the money's coming from to fix roads.
Yeah,
that's where it's coming from.
You would think that how much they charge us registration and all that stuff. I mean, I just registered a car the other day, and it literally was like, I had a car that I paid $2,600 for. Yeah. And it cost me $500 to register it, and it had no back fees or nothing, just regular registration, plate, whatever. $500. I'm like, what the $500? $497. That's crazy. And a friend of mine who's from Florida right now, he's out visiting. He said, yeah, I just registered my truck, 2 cars and 2 trailers, and my whole bill was like $160.
Yeah. Florida, which is now doing away with property tax, by the way.
Right.
So anyway, then you make matters worse.
That's crazy.
You make matters worse in that my district, the way the formula is, it's based on population and lane miles. Oh. And so my district has a grip load of lane miles, but I have a very low population.
Right.
So I get 14% of the county's total roadway allocation. It's about $2.5 million.
Okay, so you're saying the total money that's given to Sac County,
yeah,
and then you break it up in district. Your District 5, which is our area. you're saying because of the formula that's used with road whatever, you're out of the total, which if you divide it into 5 would be 20% each, right? But you only get 14.
Correct.
Wow.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. So I pick segments of road every year.
Which district gets the most, you think?
District 3, because they have Arden Arcade, Fair Oaks, Carmichael that have
very dense metropolitan,
a lot of populated unincorporated county.
Wow.
Now, if somebody, because I've seen it, if there's, you're driving down Twin Cities and there's a giant pothole, contact 311.
Yeah.
Right. Go online, go to the 311 app, put it in there. Hey, a mile west of whatever, there's a big pothole, Twin Cities Road, north side, whatever.
Yeah.
And the county will come out and patch it. And I know that the county's actually really good at that.
Yeah. Potholes are a different deal. That's maintenance.
Yeah.
That's a completely different fund. That's a completely different thing. It's done in-house by our staff. Whereas the overlays, those have to be contracted out. And so, yeah,
I have to say,
we'll come out and do a pothole.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong because I don't live in the country, but my family lives in the country, and I feel like if you report potholes, they're pretty good about coming out and patching potholes. I mean, they get on it.
But I know, like New Hope Road is in terrible condition.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, well, the whole road. I mean, we're not talking potholes anymore. We're talking about.
But that would be. I mean, it would probably take, a good portion of your entire yearly funding to
do.
So put it this
road.
way: the 44 years we were talking about combined of Toby Johnson, Don Natoli, that's probably how long it would take if they were to do the entire stretch of New Hope.
Yeah. Well,
and because you can't just say, well, hey, sorry, rest of the county, I'm focusing on New Hope for the rest of my career.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have 650 square miles of area,
and you're going to get unelected.
And you're just going to. Well, the people of Thornton would give you all their votes, though.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Thornton, San Joaquin County, that doesn't help you out.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true.
Do you get a lot of complaints about Highway 99 between Elk Grove and Galt, and just the 2 lanes and the traffic accidents and the backups of traffic every day and do you hear a lot of that?
I do, and there's nothing I can do about it because that's Caltrans. And the worst thing is, and I don't want to get too political because I know you said don't get too political, but the state of California has an unwritten policy that they will not fund capacity projects.
So who has the most oversight over Caltrans? Is it assemblymen, senators, county? I mean, who really is the one?
Yeah, it's your state representatives.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Well, we talked to Senator Nilo about it. He's been trying to rattle some sabers a little bit. We're just trying. I know it's we're just trying to get the conversation going about Highway 99 and Galt because, as you know, it turns into 3 lanes in Elk Grove, and it turns into 3 lanes when you get down south of Lodi. But we have 2 lanes everywhere in between, and we have a pretty high accident rate through the Galt corridor with accidents. My daughter sitting right here next to me has been in an accident on Highway 90. My other daughter, my middle daughter, she was in a really bad accident. Been 3 accidents on 99, all because of our hook ramps and all that stuff, right? And age ramps built in the 1950s, all that stuff, and for a road that probably had a third of the traffic, maybe less. So when you're hook ramping onto a highway that maybe has 5 cars coming, and now you got 25 cars coming, that's where the difference is. That's why it's not safe anymore. But anyways, we've written a letter to Caltrans. I made a big fuss. We drafted a letter to City Council. We've sent it to all the representatives. Senator Nilo's we got a response back. It was a very canned, well, we're going to do what we can. Let me see if we can find a few things we can do, whatever, blah, blah. Senator Nilo has been, trying to push for us a little bit to try to, do something, but maybe we can look at a couple of our ramps, maybe, extend a couple of the ramps, add some auxiliary lane. So just a few things to try to do something, right? But people drive reckless nowadays too. Speeding is just, the speed limit's 55, people are doing 75. So all those factors play in. So it's not just the roads not sufficient. It's a lot of things, right?
Yeah. But again, as I was saying earlier, if you show me your checkbook, I'll show you your priorities. Right. And so Caltrans is not doing these safety fixes down in Galt, but how long have they been working on Highway 50?
Right.
Why did they decide they needed to tear out and raise the cement medians in the middle of the Highway 99 from Elk Grove to Sacramento?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, where's the
rail would be
well, I always believe
touch on.
I always believe the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So I just feel like we'll just keep squeaking.
Absolutely.
We just keep squeaking until we get some oil. But
one of the questions wants to know your thoughts on the proposed mileage tax.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking that the proposal is that money would go towards roads again.
No.
That's
the big dirty secret of all this. So vehicle miles traveled is the new way of standard for road improvements. Used to be level of service. Level of service is really easy to understand.
Like how much the road's used.
Well, or how long it takes you to get through a stoplight. If you can get through in one cycle, that's level of service A. If it takes 2 or more cycles, that's level of service C or D. And if it takes more than that, it's level of service F. And you can't design to a level of service F, obviously.
Okay.
Now they're going to vehicle miles traveled as a standard, which whether it takes you a minute, 10 minutes, or an hour to go a vehicle mile, that's still 1 vehicle mile traveled. And they're basing land use decisions off of how many vehicle miles traveled do they create. All right. So that you can see where this is going. And basically, if you're stuck in congestion, that's okay. If you're stuck in congestion, it doesn't matter. You're still going that 1 vehicle mile. So it has nothing to do with capacity, throughput. All right. So the way that they're trying to curb that or figure out the workaround on that is they want to now charge a vehicle mile travel tax that you pay with your registration. So that, which at least then it's accounting for electric cars as well, because right now the electric cars don't pay a gas tax, right? So they're not funding the road improvements, but it would be used to pay for things like high density housing or transit stops or, right? It's not going back into road repair. And if the state passes what they're proposing, it doesn't even have a return to source provision. So you could pay a vehicle mile travel tax to drive around Galt, and it might go to fund a train station down in
Orange County or something.
So don't you think just looking at it from the higher level, such a road tax like that seems like it's unfairly disadvantages people that live in the rural area because they have to drive the most miles to get to, I mean, if you live in a metropolitan area, you can take public transit, or you can maybe you can even ride your bike to work, or you maybe drive like a few miles, whatever. But people live in the rural area. Like if you live up in like Lassen County or something and you have to drive 30 miles to get into town, that seems like those people are going to be paying a heavy price, right?
Gee, it almost seems as if they're pandering to the population centers and trying to discourage. folks
You
from
have this
living.
look on your face. You're like, why can't we just go? Oh no, it's very like, I just don't. I mean, and I know that, and just to be totally transparent right now, there's a lot of misinformation going around the internet. This is actually not going before anybody for a vote right now. They've only been given permission to do some exploratory stuff on it and bring back options or something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So we're not, and I'm not saying it can't happen, but we're not really at that point yet where there's actually close to a vote happening. So people don't need to get in a huge uproar right now.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not saying don't call
Pay
your
attention for sure.
Yeah, don't call your representative. I'm not saying don't call your representatives, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, but there'll be a time to call not your county supervisors, but call your assemblymen and state senators. Those are the people to call.
Right. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Make sure you communicate with the right level of government to have your voice heard.
We're going to take a couple more questions before we get to our trivia, and then we're going to be wrapping up here soon. We have another question from Harry Wenzel. He's one of our. How you doing, Harry? Thanks for watching. He wanted to know, how does CSD fit in with the county? So CSD, will you explain? How does CSD fit in with the county and Cosumnes?
So Cosumnes CSD is a special district, and so just like a water district or a fire district or I'm trying to think of what a parks district, those are basically similar to a city in that that's an incorporated agency that is managed under LAFCO, which is the Local Agency Formation Commission, that does a municipal services review to determine the delivery of municipal services such as water, parks, or
so it's almost
fire.
like a city.
They
operate kind of like a city, sort of
similar
within the sphere of the county. So you guys,
for certain functions.
So you guys, what oversight do you guys don't have any like direct, like, I mean, you have oversight, but you don't really have any direct control over them, so to speak, right?
Well, so I can give you a real world example relative to that as well.
Okay.
Cosumnes CSD has a fire code that goes above and beyond the minimum state requirement relative to permanent water source for a new development. They require that it has to have a permanent water source in place at the time of the first building permit.
Okay.
State code says it can be a permanent or temporary water source.
We talked about this in Galt recently.
Okay. Yeah. So CSD decided that they wanted to keep the standard, even though they're the only fire district in the state that has that standard. There were some industry groups that wanted the county, because we have to certify the fire code because it's with, again, this
They wanted the county to decide.
mandates the counties have
Yeah.
from the state, because it's a code within the
Mhm.
state. We have to certify their adoption of the fire code. They wanted us to override them. And this was an example where I got outvoted 4-1, because I said, as the county supervisor, it's not my job to reach down to a lesser district within my jurisdiction who made an eyes wide open decision. Because I asked a couple of the board members, I said, did this issue come up? They said, yes, it was brought up. They had the representative in the room. Our fire chief or our fire marshal explained their position, and we made a decision. So I said, all right, they deliberated, they made an informed decision. Why should I reach down and tell them, no, I'm going to overrule what you did, and now you're going to do what we say you have to do?
Mm.
So there is some interaction, but
And so just to break that down, to dumb it down a little bit, so you have developers or people that build houses, and they're basically claiming, if I remember this conversation, they're claiming it's an undue burden, like it's adding an additional expense to building homes because it's just one more thing that they're required to do to have permanent water. So, right, that's what the developers are claiming, right? That it's a burden, it's a hindrance that they have to have a permanent water source instead of a temporary source, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Nobody's living there yet. They're just building model homes, and they have to have basically sign off from the water agency that all of the infrastructure's in the town and it's functional.
Right. Well, that's a good example for sure. Yeah.
Would there ever be a time where the county would say the city of Galt makes a decision as a city council? Would there ever be a time that the county could come in and discuss that decision and come back down to the city and say, hey, city, you made a decision here that's wrong, and we're going to overrule you? Like you don't have that power, right?
Well, anything that contradicts the county.
Yeah. For health services, the county health officer.
Like, for example, a good example would be building code. So in our municipal code, we could take what the county says as a baseline, right? Let's say the county says that a house has to be whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we could say, well, we're going to go one further, and in a Galt municipal code, we're going to say that a house has to have fire sprinklers, even though the county maybe says, oh, only a house that's so many square feet has to have fire sprinklers. I'm just making this up, right? So we could go and make it more stricter, but we couldn't do something in our municipal code that says, nah, you build a house in Galt, you don't have to have fire sprinklers, right? So we can't go against something that's already a county law or a rule.
You can't
lessen we can just make it more strict,
less than the minimum.
Right. We can just make it more strict. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have another question, because I'm on the planning commission currently, and I know that within the county there are a lot of commissions and committees and things like that.
Tons.
And you are always looking for people to step up and volunteer. And how would somebody go about finding maybe something that they might be interested in serving on? I know some of them come with requirements that you have to live within a certain city or within a certain district, and things like that. But is there a way that, like, if I wanted to volunteer on a county level for some of those, could I find that information through maybe the county website or your page or something, or
all of the above? You could reach out to office. I always have vacancies. There's always turnover. There's always,
so you can reach out to your office. They can Google your office number.
And I know, and I'm talking like cemetery districts, and like there's a lot of different districts at the county. I don't think people really understand. I've gone through the list before.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it is long. It is quite extensive long. But, and of course you don't necessarily get a say on every one of those.
No.
But there are ones where maybe it's this county supervisor's person or that county supervisor's person, based on their district, gets to pick somebody.
That's right.
But I think it's important that people, especially anybody watching, if you want to volunteer, take a look at it and consider it.
Absolutely.
So we have somebody asking, is being a county supervisor a full-time position, or do you have a day job? It's a full-time. Yeah,
it's every bit of full-time.
It's a full-time job.
I wish it were only 40 hours
I do what equates to a full-time job, but yes, I still have a day job. So there's that.
That's right.
But as a city council member, you had a full-time job.
That's right. You got paid a stipend, and you had, you couldn't live off of what you get paid as a city council member.
Yeah. So we have someone asking, has there been a moment in your career that has been very memorable or rewarding that stands out to you? I mean, maybe there's several examples, but give us an example of some moment in your career that was very memorable that you're saying, if I had not been in this position as county supervisor, I would have not been able to do what I'm doing right now in this moment at this point. It could be just some ceremony, symbolic, something. Maybe you were present at some event, or witness to something, or whatever. Anything come to mind? It doesn't have to be the most profound.
There's all kinds of things I could think of, and certainly, as we were talking earlier, when I look back on these days, there's going to be some things that stand out. But I'll give you the example that I gave when I was leaving the Elk Grove City Council after being on the council for 16 years. And that was, there was a little girl, she's now graduated high school and she's in college. And she was in, I think, third grade at the time. And she had seen duck get run over there by Elk Grove Park. And so she reached out to her council member to say, hey, I saw this tragedy and whatever else. Is there anything you do about it? So I got a hold of Public Works. I said, hey, is there anything we can do? What do you think about this? And so we put up duck crossing signs that show a little mama duck and the little baby ducks. Yeah. And, it was 2 signs at each end. I don't know if it saved any duck's life, but why that's important and why that stands out to me is because I hope, and I actually saw her at the county fair last year when she was graduating, and she told me it did. I wanted to prove to that young girl that government works for its citizens. Yep. And if they see something and if they reach out, there's going to be
a prove that if you speak up, and people that say, well, if they say something, nothing will ever change, or my voice won't be heard. That's an example of that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. My question is, did anybody come to speak public comment and complain at you guys wasted taxpayer money on some silly signs?
They will now. I'll probably wake up to an email.
Where are those signs?
But if there's somebody watching this too that has a concern within the county, and especially within the 5th district, you do want them to reach out to your office. You do want them to call, email, whatever they, to get a hold of you or your staff and make you aware of the situation.
I have a great staff, and they probably handle at least half a dozen constituent issues every day.
Yeah.
And it runs the gamut from in-home health supportive services to potholes to, I don't get involved in criminal justice issues simply because there's guys in black robes that handle those things.
Yeah.
Right.
But anything other than that, pretty much.
And I wish we had more time tonight because there is another avenue that I'd like to open a can of worms on under the homeless thing. We won't get into that, I don't think, tonight, but I know.
Yeah, I know
we'll have you back. Maybe we'll have you back, and we
sometime at some point in the future we'll have you back on and we'll talk about the home, because that's a whole topic.
That's a huge.
But
issue.
with that, you can keep your answer brief on this. But what do you think, as a county supervisor, is probably the most pressing issue that Sacramento County is dealing with right now? It could be something like the condition of our roads, or it could be something bigger like a water issue. Something that you think is what keeps you up at night.
The Delta Tunnel, which I'm testifying at the hearings tomorrow to.
And that's the one where they're trying to pipe water from here down to Southern California, right?
That's right.
In a nutshell. That's
which they already do. I'm not arguing against the water. They need the water. They can take the water before it's lost out to sea, whatever. Just let it flow through the Delta first. They want to put in 2 massive intakes that would be on the north and south side of Hood, that basically combined would be 4 times the size of the entire town of Hood. And then pipe it down to the existing aqueduct and run it.
And they want to do that because they feel like letting it run through the Delta, they're not getting as much as if they just directly piped it. They want a quick.
So they claim it's a redundancy measure that in case there's an earthquake and the levees have liquefaction and get dissolved, that
we're not really going to use it. It's just going to be just in case, right?
Exactly.
Trust us.
And suddenly the pumps don't work on the ones to the south, and we've got to use this one just as a stopgap. And then, we need to file a petition, and pretty soon that becomes the norm. And why I think they want to do it is because the water's colder, cleaner, and tastes better.
So that's one that keeps you up at night. Anything else real quick? Anything you can think of?
There's a lot. I mean, I just was down in Contra Costa County looking at a new jail facility that they just finished building. I haven't even opened it yet because we're going to have to adjust that in order to deal with
building a new jail.
That is not
a cheap deal.
That's not a cheap deal. That has all kinds of people that come out on that issue. Roads are a big one. Homelessness is a big one. I'll tease your audience here. When you have Tin Ho on, talk to him, because he was very successful basically by writing a letter to the then mayor of Sacramento saying, if you don't figure it out, I'm going to sue you. And all of a sudden barricades went up on sidewalks and there were no more tents strewn everywhere. So there are solutions out there.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, it requires accountability and consequences.
But now also one thing, the county, are you seeing a decline in your budget money this year? Or a lot of cities and stuff are having to, I know the school districts are having to make some cuts and stuff. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we're going to have to grapple with that. And if we don't do anything, we have about $101 million structural deficit.
Yeah.
That by the time we get to, I think it's 2032, we'll be writing our employees IOUs instead of paychecks.
Right. Wow.
Right. I know, that's why I brought it up. I knew that was a big issue that you guys are.
So unless you're bringing, in the county's biggest resource of money is, what's your number one revenue source? County property tax?
No, sales tax.
Really?
Sure.
So So, but regardless if it's property sales tax, what it equates
I mean,
to.
the number one revenue is state, but that's pass-through dollars that's non-discretionary.
So regardless of which one, whatever it is, what it equates to is, let's just put it this way. People leaving California is definitely a bad thing because that's your revenue, right? So you, whatever, but yet it seems like at the state level, at the governor level or whatever. And again, I'm not trying to be partisan on this, but I feel like California keeps doing things, whether it's whoever is in charge, whether it's Republicans or Democrats or whoever the hell is making decisions, is they're doing things that seem to be running people out. And then we're talking about deficits, 100, whatever like that. I just feel like you're like, well, what are you doing?
I need to buy a new lawnmower and I can't buy a gas one in this area, so I might go to Nevada. And
do you know how many? That's a great point. You know, you know how many people are just going to drive over the line and buy a lawnmower and just drive back into California from Reno. And so who's getting all that tax dollar from lawnmowers? Reno.
Yep.
You know, you think you're going to stop people? I mean, what do you? Unless you're going to drive around and say, if we catch you using a gas lawnmower on your grass, we're going to give you a citation. Unless you're going to do that, and tell me you don't have the manpower to do that because you don't, right? That there's no way. Unless you do that, nobody's going to stop going into other, so this is one of those decisions where it's just stupid. Like why was that important? I get it's environment and all that stuff, but you're patting yourself on the back for something but you're losing a windfall of revenue that's important. On the other hand, I feel like the state does that all the time.
They're good at it.
I believe there's a phrase called cutting your nose off to spite your face.
Yeah, there you go. That's the saying.
I ask one more real quick question. Do you see yourself continuing to serve as county supervisor, hopefully, or do you see yourself ever possibly moving up to a state position?
No is the answer to the second question, for a whole host of reasons. But yeah, I'm actually up for re-election this year. I'm hoping to be re-elected for another 4-year term. And then we'll look at things after that.
Time flies, right?
I have left in the
first term that just crazy. Done like that. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, before we say our thank yous and stuff like that, we'll just give this away real quick. So here's the trivia question. I'm going to throw this out there. Then we can continue to just say our goodbyes to Supervisor Hume. But the question to win the Velvet Grill gift card. So gift card to Velvet Grill. It's only $25, but hey, it's probably a meal for one. Maybe. So the question tonight is going to be regarding Mr. Hume's father. So it's a two-part question. One is what rank was his father and what was the model of the aircraft that he flew in Vietnam? Rank, model of the aircraft. First person to put it up in the chat wins the gift card. So I want to say, yeah.
Well, I just want to say that for anybody watching, well, you got an answer.
That was fast.
Oh, there you go. Nate Potato. Congratulations. Very fast on the fly. So Nate, if you want to just email us your contact info and I'll make arrangements to get this to you. You can greatamericanlittletown@gmail.com. You can shoot us an email.
One thing I want to say, you mentioned you're up for re-election this year, and I don't think people understand the cost it takes to run for re-election for a county supervisor seat. I mean, Sean knows what it costs to run for seat.
Yeah.
But for a county supervisor seat, you're talking big money to run for that seat, especially if there's a opponent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if anybody thinks that, Supervisor Hume has done a good job in the last 4 years and wants to support him, by all means, look for those fundraisers that are going to be coming.
Well,
reach out and help
what I could say about you is this. What I appreciate from a county supervisor, regardless of who it is the things you would want to expect from your district representative. You represent us, right? Is, we're not the biggest fish in the pond in your district, right? You get Ranch Code, you got bigger cities, right? But you guys do give us a lot of attention. I know what I can say, and a lot of people don't know this, but I can tell you as an elected representative of Galt, when I need to get a hold of you or ask you a question or whatever, that you've been very responsive and you're easy to reach. I can reach you when I need to. And so that's what I expect as whether I'm the mayor or a city council member, is that when we need help from the county, that our representative picks up the phone for us, right? Picks up I can text you. I have your number. I text you, right? So that's what we expect. So for me, I think you're doing a great job. I mean, it's a tough job. It's a thankless job many times. I appreciate you. And I can tell you, when you're ready to run for re-election down here, if you need anything from me, I'm offering you my services,
And some of those texts you get from him are things we've been discussing, and he's like, I don't know, I'll text Pat.
Yeah, I text Pat. Ask
good.
Yeah.
However it comes.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I like local government is because you are accessible to the people that you serve, and the decisions that you make affect their quality of life on a daily basis. And so that's, I appreciate that level.
Yeah. So we want to thank our sponsors before we sign off, because if it wasn't for our sponsors, we wouldn't have our studio. We wouldn't be here. Pat wouldn't be here. So you'd be home enjoying something, like doing something better than being here with us. So I'm sorry for that. But our sponsors are very important. Now, I remind everybody, our sponsors, these are not big corporate. We don't have any big corporate sponsors.
Right.
These are all small town businesses and small town families that are in the city of Galt that are putting up, a small amount of money to support our show, because they feel like we make a difference in the community. And for that, we thank all of you. And those people are the Galt Chamber of Commerce, the Velvet Grill and Creamery, Chandler Gross Group, Frontier Performance Lubricants, River Rock Brewery, Parker Realty, Casey Boyd Insurance, NorCal Spreading, Azevedo Quality Harvesting, Mr. Sean Farrell, Spawn's Cookie Company, Ward Engineering, Best Western of Galt, Next Generation Barbershop, King Sound Productions, American Paving Systems, Laheim of Galt, Moriscos Las Islitas, Electric Hair Studio, and Dry Creek Family Dental. So,
and the Fandango Club.
And the Fandango Club. All of those are local businesses, local entities, and families, and some individuals that sponsor our show. Yep. Thank you to all of you for supporting us. We appreciate you, and we hopefully we're bringing a good service to the community. Thank you, Pat, for being here.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time. I know you got a lot, and it's late, and you're probably an early riser. So again, thank you, sir. We appreciate your time. It's been an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
I want to remind everybody, next week, don't miss it. We have another great representative, Sacramento County District Attorney Tin Ho. He is the district attorney. We're going to talk about a lot of crime stuff, Prop 47, Prop 36, jails, some local cases that are happening. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. It's going to be a great show. So tune in and check that out. I'll be advertising that prior to then. So for all of us at the Great American Little Town podcast, I want to say again, thank you for everybody tuning in tonight, and have a good evening and be safe. We'll see you next week.
On the mic, Sean and Dan, talking small town life where it all began. God's got charming stories to spare, from the city news to the country air. The great American little town, where the news is small but the pride's profound. Grab a coffee, sit back, it's all going down on the great American little town. Sports scores, local clubs, and a parade. Dan cracks a joke, Sean throws some shade. Local gossip and a heartfelt cheer. It's God's heartbeat right here. The great American little town, where the news is small, but the pride's profound. Grab a drink, sit back, it's all going down on the great American little town. Sean and Dan with the hometown spin. Tune in